Well, welcome everybody. What a great night to have the groups out. Just before we start, I think we want to have a minute silence for the unfortunate thing that happened in Toronto. So if we can just quieten down for a little bit and have a minute silence before we get started. Yes, and our prayers and thoughts go to the families, and just a sad commentary for sure. Disclosure, any peculiar interest? Anybody got any conflict of interest? Oh. Previous minutes of previous meeting, moved by Deputy Mayor Faulkner, second by Councillor Turton. The minutes of the April 10th, 2018 council meeting be approved. All in favor? Carried. Okay. Additional items?
Yes, sir.
David? Ron?
Yes.
Ron? I've got some. Okay. And moved by Councillor Dixon, second by Councillor Caldwell. The Town of Minto Council convenes into the Committee of the Whole. All in favor? Right. And there's no public meeting. Now we're going to do the delegations. Yep, recognition of Night of Champions, and it's a great pleasure that we have three groups here tonight, and we're looking forward to giving them their just rewards. And not only does the players deserve a lot of credit, the parents and the coaches deserve a lot of credit too. So we're going to get them in the order, and I believe we have the Terminators. Ron, do you want us to come down with me and as chairman of PRAC, and we'll do our. You can hang on to these. We'll see how well we got this figured out.
Sorry. Okay, so we'll start here.
Okay, so first up is the Terminators. Is this on? Yep. Okay, our first team up is the Terminators, and they're a broomball team they're no strangers. They've been up here before, although they look a little bit taller than last time even. I found them very tall last time. The Palmerston Terminators broomball team won the gold at the provincials in Barrie yet again. Very exciting to have some of the team members here with us tonight. So I'll have the team come up, and remarkable season, and maybe have your coach introduce you or whoever's here. Okay, come on up.
Okay, we don't bite.
Don't be shy.
Keep
come on.
Keep coming. Keep coming.
It's a small team.
Small team this year.
Small but mighty.
To play short-handed though.
They got a lot of ice time.
Yep. So we have your certificate, as you know, put it with your great big collection of other certificates. But it's just the Council of the Town of Minto recognized the Palmerston Terminators 218 OBA Junior Provincial Champions. Congratulations, girls. Thank you.
Yeah.
But you have to get the whole thing to download first.
Well, you might.
That goes into the TV.
Oh, I know.
Oh, it goes
Yeah.
into the TV? Oh, okay.
You're on television.
Oh, well, that's too bad, too. This is Jordan Schulten, our goalie. She's actually graduating, so this was her last year. And Brooke Drost, one of our second-year players. And I'm one of the coaches. So a lot of the girls are still at school. I'm Charlotte Verbeek. one of the most important coach, I guess, because I'm here. So yeah, no, the girls did very well. They won 3 straight up provincials, and they also won a qualifier, which let them go to nationals this year. So they had a few tough games at nationals. They went to overtime a couple of times, and yeah, they were close games, but it didn't go our way. So oh well. But I said they did. We had a rough go actually on Saturday morning, our last game of the tournament. We ended up playing a Saskatchewan team, and one of the girls' cousin was killed on the bus. So yeah, it was a bit of a rough game because the other team was very emotional. Our team was kind of emotional as well. So they got through it and did well. But yeah, so no, it was life lessons learned, I guess. So hopefully next year nationals they can pull off a gold. We'll leave that on Brooke's shoulders since Jordan's aged out of juveniles, so she'll be playing women's, I'm sure, next year. So that's good. Yeah.
I got to Owen Sound to see a couple of games. My granddaughter Brooklyn plays on the team,
Right.
so it was really, really good. They're excellent room ball players. A couple of years ago, I don't know whether I would have said that or not,
Yeah.
but man, amazing that talent that they have, their athletic ability, and how they play the game.
Well, we do practice quite a bit, so it does help out because I said once we get further on and once we qualify for nationals, they actually give us 3 hours a week to practice. So that really helps the girls out quite a bit. So, and we have them for 4 years in juvenile, which is handy too.
One goal a game
Yeah.
makes the difference whether you're national champions. You won the B side,
Yeah.
which was good too.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Hopefully next year. We'll see.
All right. Great,
Keep
girls.
at it.
Thank you.
All right.
I'll give them the side.
Okay.
Well, and Minto plays on this team.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
take care.
Yeah.
Want to do the next one? And I'll do the peewees. You want to do the midgets? Midgets are next.
Sure. Next up, we have a really good hockey team in our Minto community. I saw a couple of those games in the playoffs too, and excellent team. As I would say, a perfect team. We won all Ontario, so it's fantastic to have them there. The Minto Mad Dogs rep team swept their OMHA playoff series with LI, winning 3 straight games. They were also WAHC champions this year too. I believe your toughest one was in the first round in WA was the closest team. They were who'd you play in the first round? South Bruce. Yeah, South Bruce was a tough, and you guys had to play through a tough series to win that. So it wasn't a walk in the park for them, but they persevered, and really, really good team. So
Come
on in.
Oh, now these guys are all bigger than me. They're all bigger than me. There's our coach. Congratulations. Congratulations, guys. Congratulations. Proud of you. Good job. Good job. Well, of course, with skates on, you need to be taller. Yeah, we'll once they get our picture. No, you go ahead.
You want me to say thank you? All right, the players. We have Brody Hopefully, Ryan Litt, Greg Young, Parker Miller, Trevor Scott, Cody Cam, Logan Wanless, William Dennison, Boston Will, Isaiah Thornback, Josh Gray. I have Brad Scott. He was our trainer. We're missing the whole Leslie family. Who else is missing? Logan Miller, Reed Lopsinger, Luke Cowan, Ben Lawrence. I think that was everybody. Zach. Yeah, where's Zach? Hi, Mom. I don't really have anything to say. Thanks for having us in.
Yeah, no problem. I'd like to get a great group picture here, so if everybody wants to come this way, I think, and we'll get a picture.
Where'd the other mic go?
I'll have to get near the front.
Hey, you're both right.
How about you?
They're not going to see it.
Yeah, it's hard. I think it's hard. I saved it time. Oh, okay. Yeah, it came up and it don't have this over here.
If I get down like that, they'll.
Yeah, but I'd hate to go under. Oh no, that's fine. You just save it. You got it. That's good. Yeah, this is bad. I'm trying to figure how I Oh, that's it right there. That's it. Remember I said
I couldn't. Oh, I was so nervous.
Yeah.
What a great game.
need to know.
I watched it this morning.
It's just frustrating.
Same thing. What, because the two games I haven't watched, they've won.
Well, thanks a lot, guys, for coming, and good luck next year.
No, I agree.
Thanks, Coach.
Mm-hmm.
And third up, we've got another Mad Dogs team, and I really enjoy doing this little speech on this one because I was at quite a few of their games, the ones I could make. I know Sue was at most of them, especially the ones around locally, and just a great young team and well coached young gentlemen, I say, and they had an extremely good year. I was saying to some of the lads earlier, there was 300 teams when they started, and they were down to the only 2 at the end. And I was there at that game, and they almost had it. They had the lead going in the third period, but a little bit like the Leafs, we kind of lost that. But we're hopefully that'll. Oh, I'm sorry.
We're not out yet.
Sorry about. We're not out yet. No. Anyways, they played 60 games this season, won 39, lost 17, and tied 4. So what a great year they had. And to wrap it up, the team played the neighborhood municipality, but it's a strong Minto presence throughout. Anyways, bring them on in, and I see you got a bunch of trophies here, and the coach, you can introduce them. And
Mary Lou, would you like a?
I've got a grandson on this team, that's why I was at a lot of those games. and I'll talk to Al Carr about getting heaters in the Harrison Arena, but I can't guarantee anything.
Yeah,
yes, you
good one. Good one.
Well, first off, thanks for having us, guys. Appreciate it. The kids really look forward to it. A little closer. Just start the introduction here. This starting with the big guy at the front. This is our goalie, Tristan Friedrich. Little bank down here is our AP player that we brought up. He played well for us. Our captain, Owen Welts. Our big D, Duncan Wanless. Brody Kleist, my son. Jake Roth, another assistant captain. Owen Schneider, defenseman. Forward, Daniel Peffer. Another assistant captain here, Jared Binkley. Ethan McCary, Big Braden Harrow, and Quinn Habermill. Our manager, Grant Habermill. Assistant coaches, Shane Wanless and Brian Binkley. And they had 2 trainers, Ian McCary and Chris Welts back there. I'm not really sure where Ian ended up, but he's at hockey. There you go. But yeah, so that's our team, guys.
Yeah. I forgot to tell you, they were second in Ontario and they were WA champions. So what a great year they had. So if you guys want to come up a little closer here, and we're going to get a team picture, get the trophies out in front.
It's all guys in the back.
Little Nate, he should be in the back. He's tall. Yeah. Just a little bit that.
Wow.
You know, you're such a celebrity, eh? Look at that, and all these pictures taken. Congratulations, a great year, everybody. Good luck next year.
I saw a couple of those games too. You guys, there's no quit in you guys. I'll tell you that. How many goals in the last 5 minutes of the game I was at? 4 or 5 goals. Yeah. Yeah.
You guys are plastic. Ron, thank you. What a nice man.
Figured with two of you there.
Yeah. You had one job.
Take care, Rick. Randy.
3 jobs.
You got 4 positions.
Okay.
Hmm.
Close, wasn't
Furniture moving.
Boy, Annalene's waiting.
Yes, it's off to. She's off on a home. It's a wedding? No, it's a wedding.
I forget where she's gone.
Send me.
told me.
Is the wedding?
That could be a long
Or
one
no.
there.
Oh no, I think it's
Wedding's
trip
over.
to Scotland.
Oh, it's a trip to
Scotland, that's it. That's it.
Wedding's over, right?
Wedding
Yeah,
is
the wedding's
over.
Getting
Well,
married again in Scotland. That's what it is.
yeah, yeah. That's what I heard.
Getting married in Scotland.
Oh, that
Okay.
You know what happened, Mary Queen of Scots, eh?
Oh.
Now-
I can't believe it went here.
David, I'm sorry I cleared the room for your presentation, but I know. But the good news is it's on television and other people will see it. So thanks for coming. David is doing his update on the county and thanks for
See how
coming.
quick they were? Amazing on their feet. We'll see how good you are on your
That was
feet.
like a tsunami leaving.
I know.
Huge wave.
Did they know you were on?
Isn't that wonderful?
But it's great. It's great.
See if you can do the shuffle.
So I think David has given us some stuff there and he's just going to go through it with us.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge, and thank you, Council, and for letting me address you tonight, Mayor Bridge and Council. I wish maybe we could have had this delegation ahead of all that. That would have been really cool.
No,
But anyway, that's all right. That's
Keep
all right.
talking.
I'm good with that.
I'm sure they'd like that.
Not cool.
So we have I was able to send a bunch of reports to you, and I hope you've had a chance to look over them. The County of Wellington Detachment Report, again, we get this monthly. And if you look at the date, I've actually cheated a little bit. This hasn't even gone to County Council
No,
yet.
I was going to say we got this. This is the one we get
So that's how important this council is, because
Yeah.
you're getting this before County Council.
before Thursday.
Yeah, this
That's a
is
great
good.
guy.
So one thing I wanted to bring to your attention on this report, I know that's pretty lengthy, but one of the specs in here that there was an increase of calls for the detachments through Thibodale, Rockwood, and Fergus. And one of the reasons for those calls or increase was that they've done an awful lot of driver's abstracts and driver checks, criminal checks, more so this year than they've had in the past. So that sort of looks and shows on that system. So they're busy enough, but that's how it shows that the increase of calls was because of the criminal checks.
Yeah, and the criminal checks because they're doing them for the volunteers and everything
That's
and all
right.
that stuff,
Yep.
which weren't added into the previous ones. So I was quite shocked when I saw last month's and I went, huh,
Yeah.
and what happened? Crime wave, but no,
Yeah, it used to be calls for service. Now it's
Yeah.
all incidents.
it's all part
that's
of
right.
the thing. So thanks
So-
for that clarification.
Some of the good things on that in that report, we have a couple of different organizations with the OPP. One's called the Secondary School Resource Officer Program. There's a lot of municipalities in Ontario that are cutting those programs because of budgeting, and which is really bad. Our officers in Wellington County and the schools are really a huge asset to the schools with all the issues that are happening with the drugs, with the mental health issues, with everything else like that. So the County of Wellington knows how important this is in our county. The chances of it cutting it are slim, but they're a very important part of our detachment and doing a good job. Another officer that they've just hired, a YRO officer.
Sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just on that subject, like I know we actually started that at Norwell in the first one in the county. Do they do it at all the high schools in the county?
Yes.
Good. That's good.
Yeah,
That's a
And
great
they- and-
program.
And in your report, it shows different things that they help. They do mentoring. They do a lot. at the school. So they're a huge asset to the school.
And just on that, I mean, so this was a program, and David alluded to it, where there's certain officers that we do in Wellington County that other programs don't do, and this is one that we felt always gives us a big bang for our buck.
Yep.
And it's probably helped us with the new policing services agreement, because it is now on certain things, so we don't have as much crime, which actually helps you. And so preventing crime is a good thing, and rather than just having officers to look after it. So this is one of the things I think why we were able to get a pretty good police contract. Sure.
And there's a report in there that shows that.
Exactly.
So there's still instances happening out there. It's not a perfect world.
No.
But they're able to sort of, it could be a lot worse than what's showing up in those reports. The other thing I wanted to talk about, the other part of it is just new. It's a YRO officer, and that's a youth resilient officer. It's Provincial Constable Jen Chance. She does lots of things working with the community and to schools and doing with mental health issues. But March 29th, she had a presentation at County Council, and the whole presentation was on human trafficking. And I was shocked at the presentation. I didn't realize that it's in Wellington County, but they've had 3 instances in Wellington County of human trafficking. And it's just a matter of getting out there and educating people that is there. She goes to schools. If anybody wants her to talk, she's more than willing to come to different organizations to do that. So it's another thing of being aware of what's happening. And we just sat through the presentation. The whole county council was in awe. But it's good to know that it's out there. So good for her, and she brings a lot of stuff to the team. So that was the report on that. I'm gonna is there any more questions on that, or do you want me to ask questions at the end of my presentation? So it just gives us a time frame.
Sure. Doesn't matter.
Okay. The Wellington County Library, there's another nice report on that. And again, that shows a lot of statistics of the county library. And you'll notice that the Minto libraries are doing quite well if you compare to March from this year to March last year. They're a little bit up. Clifford's a little bit low, but then generally they're not doing too bad. There is a part of the statistical program called the data usage program. And if you notice, it's down 79%. And one of the reasons why the library system is changing servers and changing a new program, and it's just going into now. So that's why the huge decrease is on that. The new system of calculating that, it's going to be a more accurate service and then more accurate numbers coming through with that. So that's why it's such a decrease now, because that's a new system that's come on board. Wellington County Libraries also were featured in 2 major publications last month. One was in the Ontario Farmer, and the other was Municipal World. And what they were showing was the technology that libraries are offering to our citizens in the way of the 3D printers and the internet hotspots. It's really amazing what they're doing there, and it's getting a lot of interest that way. Under Museum and Archives, April 4th, we had quite a celebration down at the Archives at Aboyne. We were celebrating the Wellington Advertiser's 50th anniversary. And it was pretty incredible to hear Dave Edsett and Bill Edsett, who were past wardens, just give a little story about the Wellington Advertiser, how it started in 1968. And they said they had a very poor business plan, because they were advised many years ago that they should cut down their circulation and maybe only do the center of Wellington and cut out the ends just to save maybe $8,000. They ignored that. But what they've done is they wanted to still have a community newspaper, and their circulation has doubled since that time. I think their circulation now is over 30,000 papers that they throw out every week, and they employ 44 employees in that municipality, and actually in all our municipalities, Pat, right? Yeah, thank you very much. So incredible night. But they also, that same night, what we did was the County of Wellington launched the new digital, fully searchable Wellington Advertiser database. And what the staff in the archives have done is they've downloaded all the information from 1968 up to the current time. And if you go into that database, it took our staff 4 months to do that, but it allows you to get access to all the information that's out there. Now, I tried to search a little bit of information. I would like to have something printed up on there to show you that. And I'm not very computer technically my gene. So I wasn't able to get in there, but it is there, and I think they're gonna. I'm gonna bring that back, saying that they need to make it more usable for us people that are just not really computer skills aren't there. But it's incredible information that's on there. So it's just, and that's to the world now. So it's amazing. I think we were in our presentation that our committee member, we had elections of, it was 1968, and all the elections of all the municipalities in all Wellington County. And some of the old names were there, like Catherine Kelleher and the warden, and John Green he was banging away. It was pretty incredible. You could watch that for hours and hours and hours. Very, very interesting.
On that, David, I believe, and I'm pretty positive, you'll be able to access that at the Palmerston Railway Museum through our computer. That because they're doing the Wellington Advertiser's done now. I believe the Mount Forest. What was the Mount Forest paper? Confederate is done.
Yep.
We're in the process of doing the Palmerston Observer and the Harrisburg Review now. So the nice thing about that is you'll be able to go on the computer over there and in the book in our library and look up things so that you need to do, and it's a great resource to have for sure.
It is.
If I may, this is a kudos to the Wellington Advertiser. Had a bit of a social gathering for my 70th last Saturday.
Was that Saturday?
Yeah.
I thought this was next.
No, you were there. No, you weren't. But anyways, I wanted to say that the first guy that showed up was a fellow that I worked with over 40 years ago and saw it in the Wellington Advertiser. And he was the first guy there. And we haven't seen each other in over 25 years. Worked on the Yorkville squad in Toronto. So that tells you how far afield that goes. Mm-hmm. And I had another fellow that was from Meaford, and he saw it and drove down. So
great paper.
It sure is worth it.
Well, part of the presentation, they said there's so many local community papers that are not making it. And this is a success story.
Yeah.
And they keep moving forward and expanding. So it's pretty incredible. So we have a fair bit here on social services, which affects our community a lot. And what I wanted to do quickly on that is there was a couple of things that I brought forward. And you got this handout on the County of Wellington Settlement Services. It's a brochure that I picked up, and it's a good thing to have that. What has happened is the County of Wellington gets funding from the federal government in the way of it's about $465,000. And what they do is this program in Wellington County is to help the newcomers and immigrant families to adjust to living into their new community. There's a couple of main offices in Wellington County in the way of Fergus and Guelph, but they have a bunch of satellite offices in Arthur, Erin, Drayton, Mount Forest, and Rockwood. And they also come and I met the one gentleman that works under this the settlement services group, and they come up to John Nader's office quite a bit, so they keep in contact with the federal government. So that's out there, and it's helping a lot of our new families. So it's great to have that service available. I wanted to give you just a quick update on the housing development on 250 Daly Street in Palmerston. It was finished in mid-March. It is currently full. They started occupying the apartments in mid-March, and now as of now, it's completely full. And what I did was I wanted to check to see of the people that are living in the apartments. 75% of the people that are living there are actually are from North Wellington. So from Mount Forest, from Palmerston, from Harriston, from Arthur, from Mapleton. There's about 4 or 5 of them that are working in our area, so it's really meeting that need. I asked to see if there was a waiting list to get in there, and there's 5 applications still waiting to get in. So that's a good news story, and it looks great. The landscaping's a little rough, but as soon as spring hits, they're going to be cleaning it up.
The grand opening's coming.
Actually, the grand opening is being held off now, Mayor Bridge.
Okay.
What is happening is apparently the province isn't allowing any grand opening events now so close to the political provincial party or provincial election. So they basically, I know, unfortunately, any funding that they put in the infrastructure building programs.
Until after the election?
Right.
So okay, I understand. Okay.
So, Wellington County, we kicked in half the money, so we should just have a half opening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Show half the building.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, we can wait till after the election. It's only June.
Sure.
But they usually have about 4 grand openings, so one spot. Usually.
Well, the whole thing, see, they've allocated a whole bunch of infrastructure funding out, so they wanted to make those dates that time, but nothing's going to happen before the election. So and they just got that news just at our social services meeting.
Okay, because we were waiting for.
Yeah.
I think they're waiting to do some landscaping, get it looking like.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
The Children's Early Years new daycare facility in Palmerston. I was talking to Louisa. Full anticipation that it's going to be open by the fall. Gina and I drove past it the other night. It's looking great. Again, it's the weather, the wet weather. It's probably slowing things up, but we'll be looking forward to that. It's going to be a great asset to our community. The last thing I want to talk tonight is the Guelph Wellington EMS and Guelph Wellington Paramedic Services. And I just wanted to give just a brief background on that. This services is actually managed by the City of Guelph, and it's responsible for supplying basically services to Wellington County and the City of Guelph. And basically the distribution of calls through the service, it works out that 40% of all the calls looks after Wellington County, and then 60% of the calls looks after the City of Guelph. And then we pay proportionate to the amount that we use. So it's a 40-60 split. What is happening is that the 911 calls have been monitoring since 2010, and they've monitored up to 2017, and they've taken them right up to 2022. There's been a huge increase of these calls, like almost in the amount of 43% from start in 2010 up through. And the staff are trying to look at many programs to try to reduce the calls in our area. And they've got a couple of programs in place one's called the CHAP program, which is called the Community Access Program. What it is they send paramedics out to a designated area, normally one building. And this program is funded by a grant from the province. It's also funded by the University of McMaster University in Hamilton. And what they do is they monitor that group, that one building, and there's one building in Guelph, and they teach the residents on diet. They teach blood pressure. They help manage their medication. They basically try to educate people so they don't have to call 911 as much. There's another program in Wellington County called the Paramedicine Remote Patient Monitoring Program. Again, it's another program that's out there. It's not only in Guelph, but it's through all of Wellington County. Again, they get another funding application from the LIN for that. It's only a one-time thing. They have to keep reapplying for it. And what that does is it monitors people again. If they have any issues, there's basically an attendant that's in Guelph that will handle the calls. And again, it's trying to eliminate these 911 calls. My problem is that it's not large enough. It's not extend enough. There's not the regular funding on a regular basis to broaden that perspective out. So it says this is what we can do, but we're not going to help eliminate some of these calls. So we were down at Roma, and there was a workshop that Jean and I attended, and it was put on by the South Grey community centers. It takes in Markdale, it takes in West Grey. And what they do is they've established a program. It's like a family health team, and they've got 4 sites in this community, and they provide services to their residents in that community. And basically, it's health education. And again, it's just to start eliminating the calls to 911, and also takes away the responsibilities to the hospitals. So I'm planning on arranging a meeting with them. I've got 3 dates in May that I'm going to be heading up with the Director of Social Services, Eddie Alton. The General Manager of EMS is going to come up with us. We're going to also take another member of our Social Services Committee up. And we're going to sit with them to see what their structure is and how we can maybe look at broadening that same structure into Wellington County and to the City of Guelph to work on the program that we've got, and maybe be able to expand more and maybe have a good working program that we can get to the LIN and say, you need to fund this. Because every time you get a 911 call with a multi-tier response team, you're also getting fire calls. So it's costing all of us more money for these maybe not so urgent calls. So that's the whole idea I'm looking at. I would like to come back a little later, maybe in a month's time, just bring up maybe another presentation to you, see where we are. And I'll keep you as much informed on this as we can in moving forward. I think we're going to have to set up a committee to do this. Because
so David, are you planning to do this though through Wellington County or
Yes.
Wellington County? Because from our standpoint, I think it has to be driven by Wellington County.
Yes, it is.
Because I believe that's driven by Gray a little bit, isn't it?
That's right.
The social service. Do you know if their numbers for 911 calls have gone down up there because of the program when you did that seminar? Do you remember, Jean? Do you know?
Can I just interject and only because I have more of a health background, I think I gathered a little more from the presentation. The presentation was absolutely fascinating. It was quite interesting. I don't know that their focus was decreasing 911 calls. This EMS one is. This was just providing community care to people closer to home. So they did a whole range of functions. They would do blood work. They had cardiac driven physiotherapy. They would do wound care, dressing cares. They would do some IV medications. They would do all kinds of things that are otherwise going to the hospital because it's the only place you can get them unless you can get CCAC to come in. And their resources are limited. They're struggling constantly to get people. You know, the idea is you keep people home until you find out that, well, if 6 of them could drive to one room, we could have one nurse there doing that instead of having her driving all over the. And we keep going in circles. The healthcare system's been going in circles for this for 100 years now. Because then when you have the room and then you have to stay the night, before you know it, you got a hospital. First it's a first aid station, then it's a hospital. So you sort of go. But the concept was fascinating. They have a nurse practitioner, and they claim they don't bill OHIP. But if there's nurse practitioners there, they'll have a billing number. They're not going to function for free. So they did get some funding from the LIN, which was really interesting. They got a substantial amount, but each community was kicking in 50,000 or in that range. One of the centers was in the municipal building. One was in a school. One was in a church that was being renovated for that purpose. And one was, I don't know, an arena or a section of an arena. So they were all public sort of buildings, easily accessible, with healthcare available in the community for the citizens, because transport becomes an issue for them just like it is for us. How do you get people back and forth? Even though we have a hospital in Palmerston, it's not easy for everybody to get there. Mm-hmm. And then you get the overuse of the emergency department because if you don't have clinics and you can't get into your doctor's office, the emerge is the backup access for healthcare. We all know that. We know that 90% of the visits to local emerges are level 5s and 4s. There's only 5% of them are level 1s, which are the most. So, and as David mentioned, it's a huge cost to the system if it's a tiered response and they're responding to calls. If we can do some education and prevention, we can decrease the number of calls.
Yeah.
It was a really good presentation.
That's the whole idea, is the education.
Well, I think good luck on going and talking to them and see if they've got some other way. My own concern is if it's hard enough now for us to survive, to not take health care on too. I mean, it's almost impossible for us on our tax base to take health care on. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's why we pay our other taxes, right? So I understand what you're saying, Jean, but if they're doing it somehow on a semi-private basis using municipal funds, my goodness, I mean, how much more can we take?
It was the funding that I wanted to get an answer to. Like, I'm planning on going with David because I'd like to get how exactly was this funded? Because at first they said there was no funding, and then they said, oh, well, we had money from the LIN. Oh, $4 million from the LIN will help quite a bit.
Yeah, but
and what is the rationale for community putting forward tax dollars for this, and where do you get the savings from? And that's the interest is where do you get benefit for dollar? Is it worth putting it in? But certainly having access to every small community is a challenge, and I think it's something as we look at our senior citizen proponent of our communities, we're duty bound to try and provide some sort of local health care for them in each community of some sort or another. Anyway, it was very interesting. I'd be really interested to meet with them and learn more about it.
Well, good luck.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
All right.
Thanks, Dave.
Good, David.
All right. Yeah.
I don't need.
Hey, I've got. It's not on your agenda, but I wonder if I could have Deputy Mayor Faulkner come out to the front here. It's not on your agenda, so
Don't say no.
Is it a rule? I think so. Probably.
Anyways, I heard rumors that at your 70th birthday, which some of us couldn't make, and for various reasons, I was up to my in plumbing, which I'm not a good plumber. My plumber wasn't any good either, so I was stuck in plumbing. But anyways, we had talked about this before, and I thought this would be a little bit more of a fun thing. Now I realized, did Rennie Headpiece actually put 75 years on your certificate. Oh, okay, because that would have been just cruel. But we were able to do this. This happy birthday, Ron R. Faulkner, born on April 12th, 1948, has of April 12th, 2018, achieved the milestone of 70 years of age. It is a further certified that this time spent on the planet may also be expressed in terms of, what does that say? An okay 825 months, a good 3,300 weeks, a terrific 25,567 days, a brilliant 613,608 hours, an inspiring 36,816,480 minutes, and an Olympian 2 trillion, was that a trillion? 2,208,988,800 seconds. And we've tried to get everybody. There's one or a couple people who have to keep the certificate that want to sign it. All the town employees and the council. But congratulations, Ron,
That's really awesome.
on making that.
I really appreciate that. That means a lot.
Yeah. So have some fun with that. Anyways.
So you said you want to keep.
Yeah, I think when there was a couple people that didn't make it in today that were on. Just Mike. So.
And I was talking to him.
Do you want me to just sign Mike's name, or do you want me to? We'll get it officially done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Really special. Treasure that, actually.
Wow.
No, a billion, actually.
So I was talking to a fellow that used to skate Maple Leaf Gardens too.
Oh, yeah, Rick McKinnon.
Yeah.
Mini me died.
Yeah, that was the guy that showed up. We haven't seen each other in 25 years.
Okay. Why didn't they call you up for the Leafs?
I had
Before your time.
the old Montreal Canadian goalie, Plante.
Jacques Plante.
Jacques Plante and Johnny Bauer. I had goalie sticks given to me by them, and I played with them.
Yeah, that was silly. Well,
Can you imagine how silly that
boy.
was? Yeah, exactly.
well, we'll give that to Anne Marie so you don't mess that up.
All right.
It's pretty
Thank
expensive what we
Don't play
just
with
did
that.
there. Yeah. Anyways, very good. Correspondence. Does anybody want to pull any correspondence?
The one I think we should, if I may,
Mhm.
Mayor Bridge, make note of is the 3 presumptive cancers for firefighters
Yes.
that are added to the insurance. I believe it's penile, cervical, and I can't think of the third
Ovarian.
one.
Ovarian.
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 And that sounds it's great. That's added, but that's always it's also going to be very costly in the future. It's just something that we needed to do, or they needed to do, and it's been done. So I just wanted to bring that to the attention.
Anything else? Somebody move the correspondence. Councilor Elliott. Third, and all in favor? Okay, now we have James Way. Anybody want to make any comments on James Way? I think it's going along fairly well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Going well,
Great
they-
facility to have, must say.
Yeah, that's a good news story, isn't it?
Yeah,
Great facility.
We had our budget report, and like the books are stellar and things. are
Yep.
Doing, and Karen does a great job of staying on top of the building and
Oh, yeah.
tip top shape, and it's a real asset to the community.
Excellent.
Big anniversary coming up.
Did you want to move that, Gene?
Yeah, I can move that.
I'll second it.
Gene, seconded by Deputy Mayor Faulkner. All in favor? Carried. And next up is staff reports and recreation. Oh, look, he's right there. I just look up and he's there.
Way to go, Matt.
By the way, Matt, thank you very much for coordinating everything today on the
That was smooth.
kids coming in and out. That went really well. And Ron, back to Prac, it was an idea a few years back to do, and I think it's just an amazing thing to do every year. And
Sure is.
I it's funny because when you see the young ones, even I've seen all those midget boys here. That was really good to see that they all came but we don't give them a whole bunch like a little certificate, but at the end of the day, they get recognition for all their hard work, and that's great to see.
They certainly appreciate it.
They sure do.
Yeah, if I may, it's certainly a long season, and it's great that they can finish off with some hardware and some recognition too. So it's always nice to have as many teams as possible out from Minto. So it was good. So this report here is just with respect to an after-school program update. So as noted in the background notes, we submitted an RFP to the school board in early February, as per your direction, to express interest in running an after-school program for grades 1 to 6 aged students this fall in Minto. We heard back, and the school board's prepared to accept our proposal and have asked for confirmation of interest in writing for one or both of the sites. So our application was for both Palmerston Public and Minto Clifford. Should you wish to proceed, we are recommending a phased-in approach, starting with Palmerston Public School in the fall. As noted in the comments and financial sections, there are a lot of logistical considerations to get a program like this up and running. So that's sort of the rationale behind the phased-in approach. Confirmation of interest in writing means the board would then be in contact to negotiate an official agreement for this fall for Palmerston. One of the major stipulations the school board is requiring is entering into a fee subsidy agreement with the county, so those with financial barriers are able to enroll in the program. And the fee subsidy agreement comes with some provisions, which includes program inspection by the county, and we'll need to adhere to their child care program operating criteria document, which I printed a copy off of. And it's more or less quality assurance, fair access provision.
Ron?
Matt, how did they? I noticed on the Minto Clifford one, I believe they identified 4.
That's correct.
Right? Just in my son's block alone, I think there were like 6 new kids in the last 2 years or year, new babies. I just wondering, like, how did they determine that 4?
So through Mayor Bridge, being that I've got a couple of kids in Palmerston Public, a survey did come home, or at least an invite to complete an online survey. So anyone.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
They don't push it.
No.
So that's why I think these numbers will definitely get more
Yeah,
than
they're
what's-
skewed.
Yeah, so it's definitely hard to say how many people are for sure interested. We know there's at least 8 in Palmerston and 4 in Minto Clifford.
So yep, sorry.
So, so we have to have 12 in order to break even, according to your notes here, right? And it's just break even. Like, is there any way of negotiating with the school board if there's less, for instance?
Through Mayor Bridge, there are definitely a couple of things that we would want to negotiate with the school board when we get into negotiating the official agreement. One could be the per hour rate for a room. Just being that this would be our very first year getting our foot in the door, it might work well to have less of that financial pressure. There are a couple of other things we would want to make sure in there as well, but definitely this is just what they're looking for now is an expression of interest in writing.
Okay.
And then the official agreement would come later. Yeah, so there's definitely, I believe there'll be some room to negotiate for sure.
Okay.
And just on that, Judy, I do believe that the way they've actually asked for these surveys, I do not think we're not going to get 12. I mean, the reason I would probably want to go with just one first to start is just to get our feet wet.
Sure.
And try to do 2, because once we get 1 year under our belt, then I'd like to make sure we get out to Minto Clifford. But I think once people know, Mary Lou, you've been in this game as well. Once people know what it is and how much they're going to get, how much they're going to be able to do it for and everything else, I think my concern will be we'll get too many. And if we get too many, then there's for every 15, you have to have another 15.
Yeah.
Then that runs into problems. We have to cut it off at 15 but I don't anticipate that we have all summer to really plug this, and we have social media, we have all kinds of things. Once we do the agreement, I'm sure we'll get there.
I would think so too.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any problem.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Mayor Bridge, thank you. I think it's wonderful, Matt, and whoever came up with the idea, and I think it was you, and carried it through. And going forward, I mean, next year in Palmerston, the year after possibly in Harrison, it's just another added bonus for our community. So, thanks.
Definitely got some good people I'm working with and working for that have helped me out with this. Definitely going to be a challenge, but we're excited to take it on.
Mm-hmm.
starting in Palmerston.
Thanks for taking the ball and running with it, Matt. That's yeah. When we came up in economic development, and these are some of the things that came through economic development through Belinda, and when the program was able to actually, it just came. I think Louisa mentioned it to me one day that towns can get involved now, and that's why I asked Matt to get involved with Louisa, and he's done a great job shepherding it through all the red tape and all the other things that seem to be keep flying up in front of them. But
Yeah.
I think we're close to the end, which is good. Ron.
One quick, Matt, you're not tied in to have it into a room or into a facility. You could, it's part of the program. You could move that throughout our facilities in our community.
Through Mayor Bridge, this program can be run on site at a school, or we could run it at our facility. Logistically, it makes a lot more sense to run it on site at the school. Again, what rooms we get to use would be subject to negotiation. I think the school board's going to push us or ask us to use a classroom, but at the same time, we certainly don't want this to be a boring program for the kids. We'll want to have access to areas such as the library and/or the gymnasium. That'll be something we want to make sure we've got in the agreement as well.
So you could go over to the basketball courts or anything like that if you wanted to do that kind of thing. Could you?
Through Mayor Bridge, again, it depends on how many kids, how many staff. If we have one staff and under 15 kids, I'm envisioning that they're basically going to have to stay inside the school area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Thanks.
Okay. There's a recommendation there. Can I have somebody move that?
Sure.
If Mayor Faulkner, Councillor Anderson, all in favor?
Yeah, thank you.
Bill, you're up, I think.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. The purpose of this report is to obtain site plan approval for Shrimp Canada. The site is located in the Palmerston Industrial Park. You'll recall a year ago or so we signed an agreement of purchase and sale with this company. They're just north of Tri-County Wood Finishing. We rezoned the land to allow for the development on private well and septic. He has 1 acre of land with first right of refusal on an additional 3 or 4 acres. He initially would like to build the production facility or the place where the shrimp are grown and have some processing within that, and then eventually we'll expand into a full processing facility as things move forward. So we have a site plan that has been submitted. It shows a 7,200 square foot building roughly, which exceeds our minimum requirements for that size of lot. There's a front parking area that's shown as gravel right now. We would ask that that be paved within a couple of years of the water and sewer going on this section of Minto Road. You'll see that the system of the building is connected to a septic tile bed, and there will be a well which is in the northeast corner of the property, and it's shown. And then the water and sewer connections are also shown going out to the street, and that will be obviously designed and completed when the water and sewer go down that street. You'll recall the reason it's not there, at least the sanitary sewer, is because we require a lift station to take that sewage in that location. So unless there are any other questions, the site plan complies with our standard requirements, and we're recommending approval subject to some final details on grading and drainage, tree planting, and loading areas coming back. The chief building official is going to work within the building and with the developer to make sure that all makes sense going into final approval. So that's the recommendation that the planning assistant made, and I support.
Questions? Great to see it coming to life, and I think he wants to get started in the spring, according to Terry, wherever that is.
Yeah, it's supposed to be next week.
Next week, is it? Okay,
Yeah.
That's good.
It was actually yesterday.
I just reminded people out there that weather is a federal responsibility. Federal government Weather Bureau runs the weather, so we don't have to take any responsibility for the weather. Anyways, there's a recommendation there. Can I have somebody move in? Jean and Judy, all in favor? Carried. Great. Good to see. You're doing this too, Bill?
Yes, Mayor Bridge, thank you. Chief building official is actually off instructing this week. He'll be back on Thursday. So we're always happy when he gets to do that because he's educating a whole new group of building officials out there.
That's good.
Along that line, they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, one of our old dogs, Cam Forbes,
That's good.
he managed.
appreciate hearing that.
I already told him that.
Oh yeah, I was going to say that. I do that one.
He passed the building inspector's course, so he is now able to provide inspection services on behalf of the town. And the purpose of this report is to let you know that that occurred, and that we have an appointment bylaw on for him later on in the agenda. The chief building official does note that there's 13 to 15 inspections of each new home, and that's 18.2% of the permits issued. Now, Cam has passed the residential portion, so he'd be allowed to do the residential. I think there's 11 or 12 different areas that the building officials have to qualify to do all the inspections. So it's I believe Stacy and Terry both have those qualifications. But Cam having this along with his bylaw work and his fire prevention work, we're definitely keeping him busy, and it's another example of cross training. And I know it's very welcome by the chief building official who's been doing all the inspections while Stacy's been on mat leave. So our recommendation is that you receive the report and consider the bylaw later on.
Ron and Judy, all in favor? Very good. Now this gives you a good idea of where they're, what's happening.
Yes, Mayor Bridge, I apologize. The chief building official had this report done, and it was added onto the agenda yesterday, and that was an error on my part. So if you downloaded your agenda early on, you might not have this, but it's just his monthly review. We wanted to have this on because it's February and March, and then next meeting or the one after, it'll have April's, so we want to kind of keep up with things if we can. So permit activity in February was slow. There was only 2 permits, but in March it got busy again with 19 permits. So you can see the monthly total, 19 compared to 13 last year, and overall 27 permits to date, 6.7 million in construction. That's down from last year where we had 37 permits and 8.6, but last year was a record year. So you'll see later on we're still doing real well, like our second or third best year in the last 10. So the total numbers are strong this year, but slower than last. Residential and agricultural sectors continue to be strong. So you can see in 2018, 6 single-family homes so far, and there's a slide later on that talks about that. 10 agricultural buildings worth 4.2. That is 4.2 million. That is above last year's totals. So highlights include 7 agricultural permits in February and March, including 2 new dairy barns, and 6 new single-family dwellings, 2 in Harrison, 2 in Palmerston, and 2 in Clifford. And I know that there are more to come, and he is processing several in each municipality.
Another new dairy barn just came in.
So the 10-year average to date is 20.8. We've issued 27 permits per year, so you can see in that line graph we're second or third best year so far. And then the 10-year average is 2.7 million in construction. We're at 6.7, so this is our, as far as cost or construction value, our second highest. Were there any questions?
David, you want to remove that?
Yes, I can move that. I'd just like to say one thing. Even though our chief building official is away giving direction to young building officials, he answers his emails. I emailed him twice today in reference to what we're doing at the house we're living in, and he answered them both. And, you know, the next thing, he is a busy guy. I mean, you wouldn't believe the number of times, like and it said 12 or 13 times that he visits each house. It's not just about visiting the house. It's the notes that he takes and the reports that he does. And I mean, it's good that we've got him some help. So I'll move that. Yes, thank you.
Mary Lou, seconder. All in favor? Good. I'll turn it over to you, Mary Lou.
Okay. And the Finance Committee has 2 items on the agenda tonight, and I welcome Treasurer Duff. And the first item on the agenda is our Section 357 applications.
Okay, thank you, Chair Caldwell. So if you probably recall, Section 357 is generally a change to the property or a change in the use. So almost all of them here are result of a barn demolition or a house being torn down. A couple are buildings that were used for commercial and now they're used for a different use. So the numbers aren't as big on this report. So our share is about 1,790 out of the total of 6,500. So,
Is there any questions?
Win
Yes.
some, you lose some.
Councillor Dirksen?
Thank you. I just had a question
Sure.
about the something about the landfill here. Change of use at the
8F,
landfill.
right? Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought the landfill would pay taxes.
It does. There's a new one, this HF. That was a new assessment class brought in 2016, I think, and 17. So it's not a change in use because I'm sure we all go there all the time. It's still a landfill. It's a change in the way that MPAC kind of assesses it. And it's now taken that part and put it to basically RT, and RT again, meaning residential, kind of in the name of if it's not the other things, it's residential. So
I see.
So
Okay.
and now we don't have any HF assessment. We didn't have a couple of years ago. We had it for a year. And now it's gone again. So it's purely, I think change in use is maybe not the right term. A change in classification.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I was just curious about that when it
Yeah,
kind of popped off
I
the
thought
page
it
at
did
me.
to me too. Yeah.
Thank you.
But that change in HF, that was land transferred, right?
No landfill. It's a
Landfill.
new assessment
but the
class called
landfill.
landfill. Yeah.
Changed 2 parcels of land
Yes,
exchanged.
they did a bit of that too.
So that's why I'm wondering if that's what that is.
Yeah, because it was with
Yeah.
an adjoining landowner, but
Yeah.
they call it something different. So
Because there was an issue with gas.
true.
Is there any other questions? Okay, the recommendation is the council receives the April 2018 report from the treasurer and tax collector regarding section 357 applications and that these applications be approved. Moved by Councillor Turton, seconded by Councillor Anderson. All in favor? And the
I'll get
motion
the
is
next one.
passed. And the next item on the agenda is the approval of accounts.
Okay. Again, a more routine one than the last couple that we've had. Admin is high basically because there's 3 payrolls. Just the way the calendar goes. So you have 3 payroll deductions and workers' comp and all that too. And in the roads, we had about 73,000 engineering. The vast majority of that is design work on the Clifford project, which will be starting, as the mayor says, when the spring comes. Anyway, and a bit on the Ann Street in Clifford, just payment of a holdback, I believe, and 11,000 in chemicals for the wastewater lagoon. So, kind of highlights.
Any questions? The recommendation is the council of the town of Minto receives the treasurer's report dated April 13th, 2018 regarding approval of accounts and approves the town of Minto's accounts by department for March and April 2018. Moved by Mayor Bridge, seconded by Deputy Mayor Faulkner. All in favor?
He was here.
And the motion is passed.
Right.
Did I
Like,
give
you
the
can't,
chair
you
back to
can't
Mayor
see
Bridge?
me when Ron lays out there. I mean,
No, he
waving
already
my
leaned
arm.
over. I want to pass
I know.
You get some snack back?
Give it to me, Mom.
You're going to
I
miss
guess this is up to you, lame duck.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Bridge.
Not what it's quacked up to be.
Oh, it's gonna be a tough one for you, Bill. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I had done this report 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And so this is just an update in case we chatted a little bit about lame duck at budget and other times. And it just shows you how our math works here in Minto as far as when we do and don't and how the municipal act applies. So basically asking you to pass a resolution to make temporary appointments to myself and to the treasurer and myself to do some of the things in the event we had to do them during the period you are in lame duck. And that would be to appoint or remove an officer, hire or dismiss an employee, dispose of property at above $50,000, or make an expenditure or incur another liability over 50. I can't imagine the treasurer and I running off to do that without guidance of council, but I guess if there was an emergency or something, well, not even in an emergency, if there was some issue that we just had to proceed on, then of course we could take your guidance, but it would be the treasurer and I that would technically have to do it.
Right.
So I'm just asking you if you would do that formality. I certainly don't plan on appointing or removing officers or dismissing employees during that period either. So.
Deputy Mayor Faulkner and Mary Lou, seconded. All in favor?
We're causing it.
You guys are the cause of it. Maybe.
Yes, that's right. Maybe.
Yeah. Okay. They'll have to the first, first to the 37th or 27th or something. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. May 1st is not far away, and we do have our packages ready.
Mm-hmm.
So, a second draft North Clifford secondary plan. Back in July of 2017, we reported to you on the benefits of secondary plans and how they help with planning in the municipality. In particular, in Clifford, we wanted to start this work because we were reconstructing the entire length of Elora Street, and we thought it might impact on some of the lands, particularly in the north end where we had bigger parcels and development potential. So in July of last year, you passed a resolution that we initiate that procedure, and we did that over the fall, and in November at 7th at that council meeting, we presented the first draft to you. It doesn't look a whole lot different than the current draft, except we've now taken it and put it in the county official plan amendment form, and we've worded some of the document to comply with that. And what we'd like to do now is actually submit an application to the county to amend the official plan. I would like to take a couple minutes and go through how this document has changed since you last saw it. First of all, there's a couple of new maps in it. Not a big deal, but there are two new maps that, if the county does adopt this amendment, would be now part of the official plan. Also, we have updated the provincial policy section. Remember, we brought that to you before and let it be known that we are now part of the Greater Golden Horseshoe Plan. Mm-hmm. And this planning amendment has to be consistent with that planning document, and we believe it is, at least to the point now where it can be submitted to the county for approval. Also, we've reflected some of the policies in the county official plan that talk about making sure communities remain livable and also maintain the small town lifestyle. So some of those things are talked about in the official plan amendment. They're already in the county plan, and again, the whole point of this is making sure that development at the north end on those larger lots continues with that, so it does contribute to a livable and small town lifestyle out there. There's a couple of changes to the road system plan. We did have some feedback from developers in the area. One of them relates to Whiteman property, and others to the west and north that may not require a road to go through that. So when we get to looking at the road system later on, that has been written in as an option. In other words, we may not have a road that would continue all the way out through this planning area from Brown Street. But we will always need a servicing corridor there because the sanitary sewer and water will need to go down that. There's additional detail in there regarding servicing policies and a frontage fee. And what a frontage fee is you charge that to developers who want to connect to the water and sewer. And that goes back and pays for the costs that you're incurring now to put that in. So let's say I'm developing the Wicked Sticks property and I go to connect to water and sewer. I would pay an amount based on the width of my lot back towards the water and sewer that the town would contribute to the system. It essentially helps offset some of these costs that you're incurring up front here. The second, and the amount that we're talking about is somewhere between $200 a meter to $500 a meter. So if you've got, say, a 100-foot wide property or 30 meters, you're looking at somewhere in the range of, say, $6,000 to $15,000 of a frontage fee. It's not a huge amount, but as all those properties connect up, I think we have about a half a kilometer of servicing going in, so we will get some of our investment back in that fashion. The other thing that is included in the amendment that wasn't there before is some connection criteria for the Redwood restaurant. Anyone who's up that way now sees that I believe that restaurant is closed. We believe it has been purchased by a potential developer, and that developer has been in touch with the community of Minto about connecting to these services. So we are working with them on that. In the official plan amendment, you will see that there were certain conditions for them getting that access to those services. One, that they pay the engineering design on that work. So whatever water and sewer planning and design that does to get the sewer out to them and the water out to them, they're paying for that. The second is that they get any easements and other approvals that are needed in order for them to connect. The third is that they would pay applicable frontage fees, like we just talked about, and also contribute toward town development charges. There are no development charges in Howick. But if you think about that property, it sits on our borders, it uses our fire department, it uses Minto water and sewer if you allow them to connect. And basically we incur all the impact on our tax base. Well, the money goes actually to Howick. And then also they're paying up to double the water and sewer rates. So if we do allow them to connect, they wouldn't just pay the same as every other water user, they would pay a slightly higher rate. So all of these things are in there, and they have been communicated to this developer as potential things the town may want if they're going to sign a connection agreement. So I wanted those in place, and I was hoping that you would consider allowing them to remain. It makes it clearer for everyone when the time comes, if there's going to be connection, here's what the town's going to be looking for. It doesn't mean you can't negotiate or they can't negotiate with you, but at least there's some parameters in there. So, and finally, we've got some goals and objectives that are consistent with the Greater Golden Horseshoe Plan. Just to go through the amendment a little bit.
You want to ask a question now, Ron?
Sure, I'll take questions.
Yeah, just CO White, that's a tremendous forethought and a great report, and we certainly appreciate that. The one thing that you mentioned about the I forget what the term was, the hookup rate for the water and sewer fill-in. Is it fill-in?
Frontage fee.
Frontage fee.
Yeah.
Between 200 and 500. I take it that somewhere along the line there's a document that says our minimum cost is 200. I would ask that be raised to 300, because I believe our cost is over 200.
Right. If I may, through you, Mayor Bridge, what I would like to do, and that's why it's a range. It's a low range.
You bet.
And a higher range. 212 is our current charge for infill residential lots. Because we know the cost of this water and sewer pretty well, the work's been tendered, I think I'd like to bring that back, and you can approve a specific amount in a specific agreement. Okay. In the official plan, it's a broad policy, so you got to leave it kind of general in case you want to.
That makes good sense.
Vary a little bit. So just to go over the secondary plan, it's up on the screen there, and you have the report. This is the secondary plan for the area. So you can see that Elora Street kind of runs through the middle. The red areas that are shown on the plan are commercial lands, so we would see the zoning eventually done that would see those lands develop as commercial. The purple areas are light industrial, so there are no real light industrial lands in Clifford now. We would have some then, and then the orange and the yellow ones are medium and low and medium high density residential. So there's quite a lot of residential development that can occur in this area. And if you read the document through, you see how it relates to the growth targets that the county set in 2016. So this area here with this residential land can meet the growth targets for the county over the next 25 years as the land develops. So there's also, I mentioned the road system plan. So you see the arterial road would be Elora Street, of course. That's the busiest road through there. Collector Road, there would be a new north-south or east-west collector, I call it, and that would run through the Van Isles property and beside the Wicked Sticks lands, roughly in that location. And that's very, very important in order to get water and sewer to the back of the properties. The front of these lands, if you look at them, they're fairly high and they can get access to that new sewer and water that you're putting in there. but the back will need to be down through the Brown Street area in that case. And then for the back of the Van Isles property and some of the others, they'll have to go back towards Ann Street and so forth. So there's a lot of infrastructure work to go on there. The plan talks about those developers paying for that infrastructure work, not you, council, but those developers. You're investing in Elora Street, and I think that'll get an awful lot going on, and I think you'll recover some of those costs over time, but it will be up to the developers to invest in the rest of it. And what they'll have to do under this plan is bring back a design that you would be able to approve and that the engineers would make sure works. I mentioned that section of optional roads, so you see that east-west collector that kind of goes beside the Wicked Sticks property. The east-west collector would run off Brown Street and all the way back out to, I guess that's West Heritage Road or the County Road. Was it 2? 1. So that would run through the Whiteman property and would split it up, and that was one of the issues that they had when they saw that. So this would allow that to be an alternative, that maybe you could bulb that road there so it didn't go all the way through, or you just have a servicing corridor. Same with the developer of the lands to the north of that. They may choose some sort of format that doesn't have the road going through, but so it would allow you to approve a different road system pattern there as well. And then, so if there are any questions on that sort of general layout?
Yeah, but that's tremendous. Now I can see down the road that West Heritage is Howick subject to the same rules as us when it comes to if somebody wanted to develop that West Heritage?
No, they're not. They're not in the Greater Golden Horseshoe Plan, so they're subject to just the general provincial policy.
Wow.
So the issue you'll face there is exactly what we're facing with the Red Rockwood, is they don't have infrastructure there, and we do. So I think that I don't see a time where West Heritage Road will be stripped with development, but that's something you're going to have to monitor, because as growth happens here, there may be others other than Redwood that want to go along there, and maybe they'll try and do it on private services, but that's an argument for another day.
Yep, sure is.
Oh, Ron, sorry.
It's okay. Those roads, they're not roads that are written in stone. That would be up to developers to decide if that's where they want the road. Is that? But
Yes.
This is the possibility you see. Is that what?
Through you, Mayor Bridge, absolutely right. I think that the exact location of those roads can shift either way. I think the one of the things we will do in the infrastructure work is probably plan for stubbing water and sewer at certain locations to sort of try and approximate that. You're right. Maybe Wicked Sticks comes by and says, no, we'd like that road to go through the middle of our property. And I think you would be allowed to do that. I don't think it has to be exactly where it says, and the idea is to write it so that it's flexible to make those things. But in fairness, Triton Engineering reached out to a lot of these people with correspondence, and we haven't had a great deal of uptake on it. We've had some contacting us. So I think once this work starts, though, I think you're going to get more and more interest.
Right.
It's an interesting development on the Redwood too. It has to go through its planning approval, so I'm not really at liberty to talk a whole lot about it, and it will be a Howick issue, but it's substantial enough that they've closed that and they've approached us for water and sewer. So. And the last thing I wanted you to look at was a bit of a sketch that we included and it's a design criterion. I wanted to have a bit of a discussion about council about what will this look like when the development starts to occur. And so what you see in that drawing is you see buildings moving up toward the street where possible, rather than sitting way back with huge parking lots in front. And I guess what we felt was that this kind of helps maintain that small town feel. If you get buildings closer to the street and to the sidewalk, then it's more pedestrian friendly. They're not walking through a whole sea of asphalt to get into buildings. And you'll notice in the earlier drawing that we had the trail system wandering through there too, so you might go with a wider sidewalk or a trail along there in order to keep your active transportation goals going forward. So the first building on the corner, you can see how it relates nicely to the street and the sidewalks that would be there, and the parking is in behind or to the side of it. And the other building there is kind of an L-shaped one. You can see, rather than having a full parking area in front, half that building face is allowed to have parking and the other half would not be. So it's again trying to get more of a downtown or a street-friendly environment. So the official plan criteria and the design criteria that are in it are trying to encourage development that looks like that. So if there happened to be a large shopping center coming, you wouldn't see a building sitting way back on the lot and 150, 200 parking spaces in front. We would be encouraging them to be up near the street, and I think that will help you influence how how the street looks well into the future. But we're trying to write some of those things in so when developers come and when future councils deal with it, then they have a way of assessing these proposals, and the rules and criteria are clear up front. So we're recommending that you consider adopting this secondary plan. I can answer any more questions about the design criteria and the wording of the plan, but we'll send it off to the county and they'll do their formal procedures with it. And they have looked at it already. They really have been supportive so far. And there isn't, to my knowledge, another secondary plan in their official plan right now. So this will be one of their first two. So just a word on the Palmerston one. It's well on its way too. So I'm hoping sometime this summer to have an initial draft to you.
Any questions from?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Bridge. I think it's kind of neat to see this starting to go. I mean, it's more than starting. I know that we've been talking about it for years up on the north end of Clifford, and it's great to see. I'm kind of interested in the projected growth by the county. Talk about the rate of 53 units per year in Minto. Last year was our biggest year, and does anybody know the number?
Yeah, it's around 50.
Around 50.
So I mean, it will be a challenge.
So when you look at the people that made the projections, I'm not sure where they got them, possibly from the school system, but that's pretty interesting. And I realize and understand that Ann Street is a booming success, but there's all kinds of other areas up there that
lots of opportunity
for sure. So yeah, I think that's a great report too, Bill. It's very well. It's easy to understand, and I like pictures.
Makes it easier to understand.
That's what I just wanted to comment was, Bill, you prepared this report? It's excellent. It really is. And it's so nice to have a planner as a CAO. You think
Right
of
on.
what this plan would have cost us as a secondary plan. And we really appreciate this. So thank you very much.
And I just want to add that comment I was going to make is that this didn't go out to a third party. We did this in-house. And that's a big feather in your cap, Bill. And I know you just enjoy planning so much that you loved it. But you like this part of planning, don't you?
If I may, Mayor Bridge, this had to be done because with all the infrastructure investment. So, yeah, it and all the changes to the legislation. But it is kind of going back to my roots. And if I may, I did want to talk about that last map that's shown on there briefly. And I did skip that. You recall when we got into this greater Golden Horseshoe planning area, we talked about, well, how can we expand our boundaries? And I don't think it's an issue here in Clifford or in Palmerston, but it's definitely an issue in Palmerston.
Or Palmerston, I mean.
We will need a boundary expansion in order to meet the growth targets that are shown by the county. Well, it used to be you could write what's called a comprehensive review in-house and send that to the county and they could approve that. The province might have something to say about it, but it was kind of a process that each community could do. Well, under this new legislation, the entire county has to do a study of all the municipalities in the county and all the urban areas and look at growth in all those, and there will be a hierarchy prepared of which ones are going to accommodate growth and which ones will not. So when it comes to Clifford, we actually have several hundred acres here that are in our urban boundary, that are farms right now, and that haven't really had any development proposals coming forward. So if one were to look at that, you could say, well, you've got all kinds of capacity in Minto, so why aren't you developing those lands? Why do you want to expand Palmerston? Well, there's two issues here. One, these are viable farms, and so the Greater Golden Horseshoe Plan talks about maintaining those and not impacting them. And two, our growth while we have some in Clifford and we have some in Hairston, there's going to be a lot more pressure in Palmerston, and we do need a boundary expansion to accommodate that. So what the plan talks about in here is saying we want to keep this urban area in Clifford for the future too. So this is on the south end. But if it comes down to a point where we have to lose some of this urban area, we don't want to lose it to anywhere but Palmerston. We don't want this urban area going somewhere else where they get to take advantage of it. So that's what the document talks about. When we get into this hierarchy, and it's not just a hierarchy, it's numerous other studies that they're going to have to do, and it will be expensive, and they probably will be bringing in a consultant to do that. And so I just wanted to point that out, that if we're setting ourselves up to participate in that by doing these studies.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. Bill, have you heard of that happening before?
Brand new.
This is all brand new as of 2017, and I don't think they really know how this is all going to work.
Maybe somebody could challenge it.
Bill, both Clifford and Palmerston are on the edge of other counties and such like. Is it possible that along with that you might have to try and annex some properties from other communities to allow that to happen, or have we got enough expansion room?
Right. I think what we're finding is we're pretty good in Clifford and we're pretty good in Hairston. When it comes to Palmerston, I think we're good for 4 or 5 years, but for the 25-year horizon, we will need a boundary expansion there. So I think we're okay with timing wise, but
That may move into another community kind of thing.
well, I don't know if it will or not. I'm not anticipating that yet, but we will have a look at that because, of course, there is an interesting boundary in Palmerston. So, yeah.
Yeah. And who knows? You're right, Ron. I mean, that's another can of worms. Yeah. All right. So we have somebody move that. Yep. Okay. David and Mayor Faulkner, all in favor? Okay. Additional business as disclosed. I believe I have Ron and Judy. You want to go first, Judy?
Dave.
Oh, you didn't have your name up there, so then you're not going first.
Yeah, I think it was.
No, it's David. David, Ron, and Ron.
Yeah, I can go
Dave,
first.
Ron.
I've got three quick items. We got an email from Gary Thackeray about the Harrison Branch 296 Legion Ladies Auxiliary doing their 70th anniversary on this past Sunday. They had a celebratory luncheon, and so we should possibly send them a letter and offer them congratulations. Second thing is, don't forget the Green Legacy Day, May 5th. I don't believe we're having another council meeting between now and then, so that is May 5th here at the garage out behind, and it starts at 8. And I think, Ron, it's your turn to bring the coffee and the donuts this year.
I believe I did last year.
Oh, that was 5 years ago. And the third thing, the Harrison Kinsmen are working on a pool. They're going to put some money into the pool here, and they're having a fundraiser on June 23rd. Jimmy Keys is going to be in town, so if you guys can see yourself clear to support that, but they're just raising a little more money for the pool. So thank you.
June when? Sorry?
23rd.
23rd.
Lots going on that.
Just on the Legion, I did make it to the.
Oh, good for you.
I had a little mess up in my commitment. Judy was there doing last post, I believe, for the laying of the wreath. But I made it for supper, and on your behalf, I gave them a certificate recognizing their 70th. And
You did a fabulous job.
yeah, and well, it's so easy to praise that group. I mean, and I've been involved with them for years. So there's money exchanging hands
Money
here.
exchanging
I
hands.
hope that isn't on the camera.
Thank
What's
you, Ron.
happening with
I'm
that?
sure it is.
Anyway,
I just got my tickets for Jimmy Keys on the 23rd.
there you are. Good.
So you'll agree
Okay.
with them all the time now.
Mm-hmm.
Ron?
That's where he's next.
I don't want to be next.
I thought we just go this way, but if you want to mess it up,
I'll go.
My
Mine
just
is-
simple. It's Shriner's hat. We're selling Vidalia onions on our annual thing. We do this every year, and they should be in the middle of May.
perfect.
I'm buying an onion.
That's right.
Ron?
I just want to talk about the Lions hat. our park in Palmerston was vandalized over, I think it was over the Easter weekend. Weekend, I don't know what you know about those cement chess tables and
Yeah.
stuff.
You break them.
Ripped them off, and all of them, there's 3 of them, I think, and they took them down to Lawrence Park and smashed them. They were really heavy.
No, I don't know how they did that.
Judas.
They tore some of the lights. I assume we can't get up to the bridge to look because it's blocked off. It looks like some of the lights, half the lights are not working in the bridge. What else happened? Down at the pavilion, we hope it's mud. That's not on the ceiling of the pavilion. That's what we know for now. That was done.
Were they caught?
No, and we haven't. We haven't turned it into the police. We probably should have, but
For sure.
it was like there was lots of snow around, and like nobody could really investigate what was going on.
Well, I definitely the police have to know because they can put on Crime Stoppers and all that stuff.
We'll probably make a report. We want to do a real visual check of more stuff that might be happening. Check our pool and all that stuff too. So this is kind of an annual event, but we're hoping come summer people do take ownership of that park. They feel it's theirs. Anybody that walks through it should feel that. And yes, at our fountain too, or our falls, some of the stones that are glued into there were pulled out and smashed. So,
Well, I definitely think that should be reported to the police. I mean, that's part of
Absolutely.
It's a town park as well, so.
So we're hoping, and then come the summer, people take, like I say, the people walk through that park at 3 in the morning. I'm seeing them walk dogs through the park, and people take ownership and check on people like that. But it was an Easter weekend where it was really cold and miserable, and nobody got out to watch them, and they took advantage of the situation. So we assume. The recreation staff know about it. And
Okay. Well,
we're going to, so as always, we're going to fix everything that's broke, except we're probably not going to have those chess tables again. We're probably going to take all the cement off there, use the pad, and put a bench or a picnic table or something.
I think a reward should be offered.
well,
to
it's
get
through
those guys.
Crime
It's
Stoppers
just,
and stuff.
it's an annual, I would say every couple of months something happens, and it's unfortunate, and it's not just Palmerston, but I see the park as a target for some of that stuff. It's disappointing. It's disheartening for the group, but you know what? They're a good group. They'll go ahead and they'll fix things.
Okay.
Another thing that the Lions are doing is I kind of talked to Bill about this. There's a bench that was, I don't know whether it was destroyed by the snow plow or whatever happened. It's not there anymore. It's between the hospital.
Oh, yeah, I know which one you mean.
It's a little
Yep.
bench there. There's no thing there. And I talked to Bill, and then I talked to our Lions Club, and we have a bench that we can put there. So I'll get them to talk to Mike and see about stabbing it into the ground. Dave Wilson seemed to think it was taken.
Yeah, it could have been.
Oh, really?
But it's actually an important spot
Well, it
because
is,
people
because-
walk from Royal Terrace have a hard time walking all the way down
So-
without having a rest.
And I think it was the town's bench. They were good enough to put it there, but the Lions are quite willing to. We have an extra one where they're going to build an extra one for that.
Okay.
And save the town. We'll work with Mike. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. A couple things I have. One, I just want to thank the council and the spouses and the staff for the volunteer, all the work that you did for the volunteer thing. I think it's great for us,
That was a great
us
day.
to get together and peel potatoes. Looks like we did something wrong because we're on KP duty, but Ron, your potatoes worked out really
those
well.
were amazing.
You were scaring me when you were making them, but they worked out really
You don't
well.
want to watch my.
Yeah. No, I just half the time you didn't know what he was putting in them. No, I shouldn't say that, but he knew he was putting into them. But anyways, it was a
need the
well-run
recipe.
event and 222 people out there.
Yeah, what an amazing turnout.
Each year it goes up. That's
Yeah.
a nice thing to see.
Everything was fantastic.
No reported illnesses, so that's another good
That's a
thing.
good thing.
Yeah.
Following.
Following the event.
Sweat all night.
Yeah. Anyways, well done, everybody. You deserve credit for that. I don't know many other municipalities that actually do that. I know they have. A lot of them might do a sometime volunteer appreciation, but actually to cook the meal. And they're
And Annalene, I think, needs a special
well,
thank you.
she's
for-
not here, but Quinn and
Yeah,
they both did
and
a great
Quinn,
job.
Boy, awesome job.
I will on your behalf take the staff out for lunch that did all the work. We'll do that for you. I always do that every year, like Pike Lake or something when they open. And I just want to. And it's unfortunate.
Let us know.
I haven't been able to see. Yeah, I'll let you know. I haven't been able to see the play, but I hear, Pat, that you cried twice. And I'm not putting you on the spot. I'm sorry. I'm embarrassing you maybe, but Megan was at the cultural meeting last night, and Peggy, and I'm trying to see if I can get to it, but I haven't been able to get to it. But I hear it's just amazing. And again, and again, just what
crowds?
talent we've got.
Getting good crowds. Awesome,
Good. You're just talented bunch of group, and Megan does such a great job with the youth, and really appreciate. But yeah, to make her dad cry twice, I believe, and you've seen it a few times, so that's if you haven't been seeing it, try to get there and see it. So that's it for me. Moved by Councillor Elliott, second by Councillor Anderson. The Committee of Whole convenes into regular council meeting. All in favor? Oh, Ben's broke. No, I got it. Moved by Councillor Turton, second by Councillor Dirksen. The Council of the Town of Minto ratifies the motion made in the Committee of the Whole. In favor? Yeah. Moved by Councillor Caldwell, second by Deputy Mayor Faulkner. The bylaw number 2018-25 being the bylaw to appoint Gordon Cameron Forbes as building inspector of the Town of Minto be introduced and read first, second, and third time and passed open council and seal of the corporation. All in favor?
Everybody knows.
Well, now we know Gordon is his first name. Woo! Good work on that tomorrow.
He'll never be as tall as you, though, Gordon.
Moved by Councillor Anderson, second by Councillor Elliott, that the bylaw number 2018-26 to confirm the actions of the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Minto respecting a meeting held April 24th, 2018 be introduced, read first, second, and third time, and passed on council, seal of the corporation. All in favor? Moved by Deputy Mayor Faulkner, second by Councillor Dirksen, that the Council of the Town of Minto adjourn to meet again at the call of the Mayor. All in favor? Thank you for a good meeting, everybody.